Good evening, everybody. It looks like we're all ready to go in a Jefferson fashion, always on time, a couple minutes late. Welcome. My name is Frederick. For those of you who I don't know, I am the president of the Jefferson Educational Society, and it is my pleasure to welcome everybody to tonight's program. I'm here to do a few things. So first, run of show. I'm going to say a few words. I'm going to explain a little bit about the award. Then we have Ken Brazenton, a fellow Jeffersonian and a coach and a great Erie citizen who's going to make a special presentation to our speaker tonight. Then we will have Captain Tom Hagen do the official introduction. Q&A, we will have cards and pencils around. You should have gotten some at the door. If you didn't, raise your hand if you want a question. We'll pass the index cards and a pencil to you. Please keep in mind your writing style. Ben will not read your questions if he can't read your writing. After Captain Tom is up here, then we will turn the program over for a conversation with our tonight's speaker and Mr. Ben Spagan. I do want to thank a few people who have made tonight possible with the generous support of the folks at Erie Insurance, obviously. Our incredible team, and particularly for this event, Christine Gerlach, who has just been amazing in working all of this rescheduling and scheduling. So Christine, thank you so much for the work you've done. And of course, the many volunteers and interns and the whole Jefferson community, including you, thank you for being here. Tonight, we are continuing Global Summit 18. This program was originally scheduled to happen in November, where we were supposed to present the Hagen Dignitas Award to Erie's own Fred Biletnikoff, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, we have been able to reschedule this, and thank you to Mr. Biletnikoff and Angela, his wife, for being so gracious with their time and willing to reschedule the program, so thank you for that. I also want to thank Randy and Carrie Biletnikoff. We at the Jefferson do not use speaker agencies. Our secret sauce is we find somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody to make that connection. And for this particular event, Randy and particularly Carrie opened the door and we were able to make this program night. So thank you. And by the way, Randy and Carrie are like grandparents to my kids, so they're awesome people. Thanks for being here. This award is named in honor of Thomas B. Hagen, a visionary leader, civic champion, I think Erie's most prominent citizen, and someone I am proud to call a friend and a mentor. And through his professional leadership and philanthropic impact, Captain Hagen has shaped our city, and in fact has saved our city, and is leading the city through a renaissance which future generations of Erieites will enjoy. The award honors Erie citizens who have made significant contributions to the vitality of American democracy. The Latin word dignitas is known to mean first among, or was known to mean first among equals in the ancient Greece and later in Rome. And it honored those citizens whose civic behavior exemplified the highest ideals in Athens and in Rome. Each year, we look at the appropriate statuette to represent both the word dignitas and the ancient word in the ancient world and the recipient of that award today. In the past, we have used folks like Hippocrates, the founder of medicine, Cicero, Athena, Plato, and others. And we have all of the past recipients of the award there. And tonight, we are using a statuette of Alexander the Great, because both Alexander the Great and Mr. Biletnikoff represent unparalleled excellence in their fields and becoming icons whose name endure through time. Now, let me get out of the stage. Nobody really wants to hear from me, so I'm going to turn it over to Ken Brazenton to make the special presentation.
Okay, thank you, Frederick. Good evening. As we honor Fred Biletnikoff here this evening, would all the centaurs in the crowd please stand up and be recognized? All right. Thank you, and thank you for being here, of course. I'm representing the Save an Eye All-Star football game. I'm on the Board of Trustees for that game. And this year we will have, at the end of June, that game being number 87. We are the second longest reigning high school game in the country. Scranton, PA has us by a couple of years, as a matter of fact. And that is our fundraiser for the Northwest Sight Center, which provides eye care to the visually impaired regarding eye exams, canes, dogs, transportation, you name it. Now, Fred was unable to play in that game. He certainly was chosen for it, being the athlete that he is. And that game, that particular year, was played on September 4th. By then, Fred was already down at Florida State University, showing his talents there at the university level. Now, when you get to play in this game, you get to keep the game jersey, which for a lot is a real important, big deal, and it's often proudly displayed someplace. So, in all the awards that Fred has gotten, there is a void in his den where there should have been the jersey hanging up. And that's just most unfortunate. Well, we are here to correct that. And in doing so, I got a hold of Leader Graphics here in Erie, locally owned and operated, I may add, give them a plug. And they researched the style of jersey back in 1961 when Fred would have been playing. And they duplicated that particular style from back then. I also did some research to find out what Fred's high school number was. I think everybody knows him as number 25 with the Raiders. And so I came to find out that his number in high school was 34. I wanted to make darn sure of that. It would be embarrassing to give him the wrong number. So I called his teammate up, Danny DiTullio. And I told Danny what we were up to tonight, and he says, man, that's great. And I said, Danny, what was Fred's high school number? He says, number 34. Great. I says, Danny, what was your number? He says, I can't remember. Danny's in the audience. I had to slug him on a little bit. So Fred, I am honored tonight to present to you your Save an Eye jersey, number 34. Wow. Save an Eye. Okay, hold on. All right. I'm not done yet.
I wonder where that jersey went.
Okay. Also, Fred, the Save an Eye organization, we're going to be making a donation of $500 to the Biletnikoff Foundation. So, Angela, I'll get together with you on that. You can give me where to send it and so forth. Okay? Wonderful things that Fred and Angela are doing. Fred, we know that when you're in town, you're pulled in all kinds of different directions. A lot of places to go, people that want to see you, and it is your lovely wife, Angela, that is with you at your side. And I know you get put through the ringer while you're here, Angela. So, Angela, if you would come up, please. Green. Angela, we too have an award for you. During the high school football season, we give out a Player of the Week at a banquet that we have every Tuesday. One player from the city, one player from the county, and it's simply called the Player of the Week. Now, since you're going to be here running around with Fred all week, we have the one and only woman that has ever earned this. And we have unanimously voted you as Player of the Week. Okay. Angela, you're always welcome to come back and visit Erie. Fred, you're welcome to accompany her. I want to thank you. This was an honor to honor Fred Biletnikoff. And I appreciate FERCI, the organization, giving us the time to do this, to recognize Fred, to finally settle the score and give him a jersey, and to certainly recognize Angela. I thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm done with that, and it's time to move on. And I am now to present the Thomas B. Hagen Dignitas Award to Mr. Biletnikoff. Please join me in welcoming Tom Hagen to the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. The image is undeniable. Fred Biletnikoff, streaks of black under each eye, his silver and black Oakland Raiders helmet tilted slightly forward, 2 single bars of face guard protecting those dark, penetrating eyes as he stretches out for another spectacular catch. It's January 9th, 1977. Number 25 will win the Super Bowl MVP award this fateful day as the Raiders beat the Minnesota Vikings 32-14 at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. 7 Raiders on this team, Fred included, will be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Fred Biletnikoff belongs to the football ages. He was Florida State's first consensus All-American in 1964. He was so good at that college football that today presents its top wide receiver in the country with the Biletnikoff Award. He played 14 years in pro football, all with the Raiders, from 1965 to 1978. Afterwards, he coached wide receivers for the Raiders from 1989 to 2007. He made the Football Hall of Fame in 1988. But Fred was always an Erie story. Born in 1943 in Erie's East Bayfront Russian neighborhood, Fred was the middle of 3 boys born to Natalie and Ephraim Snooky Biletnikoff. His older brother Kenny was a great golfer. Like his younger brother Bobby, Freddie starred in football, basketball, baseball, and track at Erie's Tech Memorial High School, where he was a champion high jumper. He was a running back in high school, not a wide receiver, though he caught more than a few passes. Fred credits a tough neighborhood near the Erie docks for helping him develop the grit and drive to compete. They were older, bigger, taller, and stronger kids. If you wanted to play, Fred told an interviewer in 2023. Your talent had to come out. you always competed up. He is grateful to many coaches, friends, family, and special places like the Erie Boys and Girls Club for supporting him over the years. And he knows that his hard-nosed dad, a lifelong welder, a talented boxer, and handball player, had a lot to do with the toughness that carried him through a storied sports career. Fred would later teach some of his wide receivers how to work the speed bag, a boxing skill his father taught him as a boy, and handball, very intense handball, and perhaps help him better understand the discipline it takes to succeed, or sometimes just survive life's cruelest challenges. It is indeed my pleasure and honor to present the Dignitas Award to Fred Biletnikoff, a returning hero to a grateful community. Fred? Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Alexander the Great.
Well, thank you. I really
Well,
appreciate
thank you.
it.
And we'll keep this, well, he wants to take some pictures over there. All right. Okay. I guess we got him on. There we go. Okay.
Thanks for making the journey.
Well, yeah, and we'll have you keep it for him, and I'll take my papers. and-
All right, let me go. I didn't get the water to make a long speech up here. But Tom, thank you very much for the Jefferson Society. It's been a long journey, and to have something like this happen to you in your lifetime, unbelievable, amazing, and thank you so much. I guess if you live long enough, great things happen to you, and tonight is one of those things. And I'll never forget this night, being back in Erie, seeing all my friends, all my buddies, Father Simon, who I knew since he was a little guy, and all the things that we went through, all our life, the struggles, the good times, the bad times, and this wasn't planned. Whoa. But I'm happy to have all you guys here to share this with me, because you're all part of this, the whole group. And I want to thank you for being my friend for all these years. I want to thank Father Simon to what he's done with the neighborhood down there over the years. It wasn't easy. I know it was a battle. And you stuck with it, and you've certainly made us all proud of the Russian neighborhood that you brought back to life. And thank you so much. To my wife, Angela, you've done a hell of a job with our foundation, darling. And being with me, the ups, the downs, easy times, good times, bad times, you're always there. And to Richie Valahovic, Eddie Kissel, Doug White, Z-Back, Danny DiTullio, I don't know who else is in the audience, but everybody I went to school with, thank you guys. And the wives with Diane, Mary, Teresa, everybody, thank you so much. I want to give a special thank you to somebody, Tom, who did all the grunt work getting Angela and I here, with Christine Gerlach. Thank you very much, Christine, for everything you did for us getting us here. And my cousin Ricky and Karen, where are you guys? You here? Right there, my Aunt Martha's son. My Aunt Martha couldn't make it today. You know, she's getting up there in age, but she still likes her casino days during the week. And God bless her, she's still alive and still the last part of the family, the adult part of the family. So I get to see her and visit with her. And just so many memories being able to drive around, and like Angela and I went up to Biletnikoff Field, and Eddie, they didn't throw anything at the sign, so you don't have any cleaning up to do. Which Eddie Kissel had done so much work, making sure it's presentable all the time and checking it out. Thank you, Eddie. And vision that it took us 20 years, close to 20 years to finally get the field done, and we finally got it done. Daria was such a big influence and help for us, and thank her, and thank everybody that's at that school, because all I visioned is those years that we used to come up that driveway and go and look out in that field. It wasn't very inviting, and now walking out there and see what they've done with it is just amazing. We're happy for the kids, see the smile on their face, because they deserve something like that. They deserve something to have a first-class facility, and even though it took so long, at least it's there for them now, and the people that are leaving there can be proud of what they had and part of it this past year, and then everybody else afterwards can really feel good. The community could feel good about being there and doing their walking, and we had the Special Olympics there the other day, which was terrific, and we had the flag football 7-on-7 this year, so it's getting great use, and it's great to see that being part of that field. I always thought, I don't know how many of you looked at it, the front is terrific. The back, there's a picture of me and holding up number 1. And I always looked at that, and I said, do people think it's like arrogant, to have that up there? And I thought about it, I said, you know what? You get one chance in life to do something great. And you very rarely get a second chance. So I hope those kids understand, no matter if they're track, soccer, football, whatever it may be, look at that and say, I'm going to give myself an opportunity. I got one chance to do what I really want to do and fulfill my dream, and I'm going to take that chance to do it. So that's what that number 1 depicts to me, and I'm happy to see it, and I finally figured it out, because I certainly didn't want people thinking the other way about what it depicts. But it's been fun. It's been a long journey. Life's not fun. You go up and down. I learned from this, being born and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania, that there's no room for the weak. If you're not tough, and the good times are the good times, but don't dwell on those good times, because you got to go ahead and go forward. But sometimes that road's going to get a little bumpy, and you better be strong enough. And I'm proud to say that Erie taught me that. I learned one thing in Erie that I took the rest of my life when I went down to Florida and out to California, and even to this day, that I was happy to be born and raised in a city where there were so many diverse ethnic groups, and everybody got together, everybody got along, everybody played against each other on the same team or against, and you learn to handle situations, you learn to get along with people, and it really certainly helped me in life, and that's the truth. It really did. I left here, and I went to Tallahassee, Florida, where it was total segregation. And we were the white school on one side of town, Florida A&M was the black school on the other side of town, and that's how it was for 4 years, and people don't realize that. I didn't realize it until I got there. And all of us that were from the north, being called Yankees and everything else going down there, we battled through all that. We got to be friends with a lot of people over Florida A&M. Guys I played with in Oakland were over there playing at the same time I was at Florida State. And then I went out to California, where it was totally crazy with all the hippie movement and the flower children and all that. And, so I've been through a lot. I've been fortunate to be in different parts of this country, which people don't get an opportunity to be in or be at, and actually live and be part of the community and see how other people live and see what other people do and see what different parts of the country actually go through. Adults, kids, it's different. I mean, I feel very fortunate to be able to do that and be able to be part of that. And just it was fun. I mean, it's fun now. I don't know how much fun it was then, but it was a good learning experience, a good adventure, and the adventure's not over. To be able to come back here, like I said earlier, and get something as prestigious as this, who would have thought? Who would have thought? In my wildest dreams, this would have never happened, but it happened, and I want to thank everybody. And thank you, Tom, the Jefferson Society, and everybody in this room. Thank you so much. Now, Ben, are you ready? All right. No tough questions. All right. Write whatever you want to write. Now, I want to thank everybody again, okay? We're going to have a nice opportunity here to get you people involved, or if you have any questions out of the blue. I know Danny DiTullio, geez, we got to put a gag on him. All right, but thank you very much for being here, and we'll try to entertain you a little bit. All right, thank you.
How about just one more time, and I'm sure it won't be the last, a round of applause for Mr. Fred Biletnikoff, Erie native. Fred, we heard a little bit about your upbringing, your background, the neighborhood you grew up in. One of the times that we were connecting before this event, you told me about being able to hear the stadium, the roar of the stadium all the way down to your neighborhood. Calling to you, you could hear that. It was inspiring. I want to hear a little bit more about that grit, about the area you grew up in, how it influenced you, drove you to work hard, and then importantly, when you knew you had it, or something special, that you knew you were destined to go on and play professionally. So back to the neighborhood, your path to Florida and something bigger.
Well, we moved from 109 German Street. I think the community center is that number now. But we moved from there up to 4th and German, between German Street and Parade Street. And you could actually hear on a Friday night or a Saturday night the band playing up here at the stadium. It would echo all the way down there, And I can remember as a kid listening to it and hearing it. It was unbelievable because I was thinking like people like Mel Laska, Pete Alex, all these guys from the neighborhood were playing up there or were part of it, and It was something that you dreamed about, wanting to be there, because they're under the lights on Friday night or Saturday night. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a kid, be there and be part of that? And then a few years go by, and you are. I started at East High School with Johnny Gulick, and he actually threw me my first touchdown pass, and he'll tell you that too, okay? But went from there, then I went to Tech. I went to the old Tech downtown here, and then out to Tech Memorial, and started off with Al Calabrese and Ray Dombrowski, and then we had Walt Strasser, and we just went from there. My brother was a quarterback. Richie Valahovic played with us, and Danny, and a bunch of guys, and I don't remember our records, but I think we had a lot of fun. But it was just something to be around somebody like Al Calabrese, who coached football and basketball, and then just went with basketball, and being around Ray Dombrowski, who was a big influence for me to getting down to Florida State, because a fellow named Ken Myers, who was the offensive coordinator down at Florida State at the time, was raised by his aunt and uncle here in Erie. And so Ray knew him, so that's eventually how I got down to Florida State. And the success we had here, you think about things when you were in high school and the things that you went and the things. Let me turn this around here. I don't have my back to people. The things that people wouldn't believe, like Al Calabrese one game, we were playing against Prep for the Little Brown Jug. And so Al always liked to make a big splash with his teams in basketball and football. So he had all the student kids that helped out with us with the equipment and all that paint our shoes fluorescent orange and our helmets fluorescent orange. And when we got on the bus and went down to the stadium, he had them shut off the lights at the stadium. So when we came off, everything was glowing, And I think, who would think of something like that? It was crazy, but it worked. And it was a great inspiration. You think about those things, afterwards, and it's just something special you never forget. And going from there, and then with basketball with Ray, and then eventually going down to Florida State, where, it was, I went down as, well, obviously as a running back, but when I got down to Florida State, you start looking around, you see who's on the squad and who's on the team, and, you're looking at running backs from Virginia, from Georgia, from Mississippi, and all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, I don't know if I fit in here, with this group. And so just my little experience at wide receiver. So I went one day, after about a week, I went to my freshman coach, Charlie LaPrade, and I said, Charlie, I'd like to switch over to wide receiver. And so that's how I ended up going back to wide receiver. So at least there was one thing, I was smart enough to look at the group and say, wait a minute, I better get out there. So I did that, and that's how I got to go back to wide receiver. And then, my first couple of years, it's tough. You're away from home, and, it's, you got to think about what it's like at home, what your parents can do for you. And down there, we're getting $15 a month. That was it. And that was the spending money, so you really had to be able to learn how to spend money or learn how to save money. But that was a big part of it, all those years. And then we had some success when I was a junior. And then as a senior, we had great success, and we ended up going and beating Oklahoma in the Gator Bowl. And then a bunch of us got drafted. I got drafted by Oakland and Detroit. And I decided to go to Oakland.
Tell us about that, because you entered professional football at a time that the leagues hadn't merged yet. So you had choices, and you chose to go to Oakland. What called to you out in Oakland, where I think, as you mentioned, the hippie movement was happening?
A lot more than that.
What
I
spoke
don't want
to you
to
in
say
Oakland?
it bothers you. I don't want to say too much. Go ahead.
But what spoke to you in Oakland? Why choose the Raiders? Why head west, all the way west?
Well, because at the time the NFL was like the established old league, not old established league, and they were set in their ways. It was mostly running, very few teams, had passing. Like Baltimore was with Raymond Berry and Terry Barr and that whole group, and but the league was more. It wasn't much of a passing league. And with the AFL, you're throwing the ball 35, 40, 45 times a game. So that fit into more what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. And then, you have the influence of Al Davis and, going out there. And so that's why I decided to go to Oakland.
So I think many folks are familiar with Al Davis because they've read about Al, they've seen Al. You knew Al. What is something that you think would surprise us to know about him, the experience that you had as a player in his organization?
Well, when you were playing for him, you were there to do a job, and he expected you to be totally committed to that job and to learn how to do that job. And it was a great time because that's what he was all about. He was going out to Oakland, being with Al was like being with my father, to be honest with you. All right. Didn't take anything from anybody. If you did something wrong, he held you accountable, and he never passed up anything. If you did something wrong, if you were the one guy that made that mistake, the whole team, you ran the same play over because one guy made a mistake. And so that's how you were taught with him, on being committed to what you were doing. And you were either right or wrong. No way around it. And that's why I love the guy so much, because that's what he was all about. He was about winning. Coming from the background I came from, that's what you went out and you played to win. You didn't go out there to play to lose, or come in second, or be happy with coming in second, or when the awards were given out, oh yeah, you guys get the second and third place. You never want to be there, and you learn pretty quick that with Al, that if you wanted to play for him, you had to be a starter. Or somebody that he really had an attachment to, that he felt that you could produce. And he was all football. And that's how it was in my life. It was just all sports, all football, and that's how we ran the organization.
So in college, you have freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. You've got folks that are 4 years apart, but in the league, you've got guys that have been around for longer than that experience. What was it like mixing in with players that have been around the league 6, 7, 8 years, coming in as the new guy on the team? Who did you learn from? Who did you admire and look up to? How did you mix in terms of a young guy coming out of college, playing on the team? What was that dynamic like?
I learned from one of the greatest college players, Heisman Trophy winner, was Billy Cannon. And Billy was on our team at the time. I learned a lot from Billy. And Billy was a tough guy from Louisiana. And he won all kinds of awards. The touchdown he ran on Halloween night down in LSU, down in Baton Rouge, they still show it. From Billy, a guy named Cotton Davidson, who was one of our backup quarterbacks, and he played with Raymond Berry and everything when he was a backup there. And he was with us, a guy named Dick Wood, who played for the Jets in a period of time. And Tom Flores, who was the core. I played with Tom. And so it was a good group of guys. And like with Billy and Cotton, they were just the guys that loved football. And they took me under their wing. And I learned from them. I really learned a lot from them. I learned that, the great thing about football that you learn is, every play when you leave that huddle, you're either going to be a success or a failure. And you're either going to get it done or it's not getting done. And if you don't get it done when you get out there, you only have a certain period of time to get back in that huddle and come back out. So it depends on how tough you are to handle that, to go back out there to be successful. So that, to me, learning as a young guy from those guys and then carrying that all the way through my entire career, that became the thrill for me. I loved, one time you can't do it, the next time you can do it. And no matter what, you still got to go back out there. You're in that huddle. You're leaving pretty soon, man. You be ready. You might not get it done the first time, but that was the thrill. I mean, listen, the thrill of being a wide receiver is playing on the edge. You either catch it or you don't catch it. You can only play one person. I don't care where the ball was. That's your job. You got to go catch the ball. That's what you're getting paid for. That's your job. That's what everybody expects. I mean, you have 10 other guys back there depending on you, and you have to look at it that way. And either you're the guy that can contribute, or you're the guy that gets out of the way. You either be the cut above, or you just be a guy.
I appreciate the framing of it's either a success or it's a failure. How did you deal with that? The mind reset of when it didn't work, if you didn't catch it or the play blew apart, something went wrong, but you went back into the huddle, got back on the line, and tried again. What advice would you give people from a wide receiver standpoint working through failure to find success?
Well, I never had to go to counseling because of it. Thank Lord. But it's, what? I don't know how much time kids spend on practicing on what you're doing, whatever sport it is. I mean, I spent a lot of time. I in the off season, I loved the off season. I loved going and getting myself ready to go to camp. I mean, I loved going out there and running distance and doing track work, and not that I was Speedy Gonzalez, but anyway, you still had to do it. But working on things a stage at a time and just building up to go into training camp, I loved it. I love that part of football, getting prepared. If you go out, if you think you're just going to walk out there and get it done, it's never going to happen. And I always worked, and even the guys that I coached, was, as long as you're consistent, and you got to put the effort in on little things. It's not hitting. When I was coaching, one of the guys on a team, and with the Raiders, and I was coaching with the Raiders, and we were going in after practice, and we weren't doing very good that year. And he said to me, he said, Fred, what's wrong with our team? I said, come on with me. So I took him inside, went upstairs to the second floor, the offices that looked over the practice field. And by the time we walked up the stairs, the practice field was empty. I said, that's the problem. I said, when I played, I said, if you looked out on that practice field, you would think practice was just starting. Because that's how many guys stayed out after practice, did the extra work, made the commitment. And, one of the biggest things is this that I always tell kids is, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to where you want to go to? Because, and I don't mean just, I won't do this today or whatever. No, are you willing to put your family aside, your friends aside, put your drinking aside, putting this aside, putting that aside for what you want to be? And if you're not ready to do that, if you're not ready to sacrifice, and, people always say, oh, yeah, I sacrificed this, I sacrificed that. No. What are you willing to sacrifice? How far will you go to sacrifice to be one of the best? I mean, I know. I did it, right or wrong. I mean, you do that, and you get to where you want to get to, but you leave a hell of a trail behind you. And it all depends on how much you want to leave that trail behind. And I did. It's not fun, but, that's what I did. A mistake in life, I don't know, but that's what I got to. But that's what it takes, how much you want to give up.
And for you, that led to success. You have the top wide receivers. They win the Biletnikoff Award. Mm-hmm. You won the MVP award, as we heard in the introduction to your bio, in the Super Bowl. What did each mean to you? What does each mean to you? Has one been with you longer in terms of the award being named after you or MVP at the Super Bowl? Which meant more?
Well, the MVP meant to me at that time because we had gotten so close so many times and never got by that one team every time, no matter who it was. And we lost a lot of championship games to get to the Super Bowl. And we finally hit it right. And we're going to the Super Bowl, and we end up winning and being most valuable player. But, I thought back on all those times that there are some guys that weren't with us anymore that didn't have that opportunity, that we went to championship games with those guys, and we lost and didn't get to the Super Bowl. So those guys came to my mind, thinking about them. I was thinking about going back and thinking about Billy Cannon and Cotton Davidson and that whole group that I'm not born, but raised with in football when I was a young kid. And that's what I thought about. And that's really the only thing I thought about. And so getting that award, they all had part of it, because I know what it took and how much they helped me to get there. And the guys that I was close with that weren't no longer on the team weren't able to celebrate a Super Bowl anymore because they weren't there. So that's what I thought. The Biletnikoff Award is a great thing because when we started it, there were very few awards that ESPN had going on, and it's not like it is now. And they didn't have a receiver award. So we started a receiver award, and there were very few of us. There were like maybe 10, 15 of us, and we did all the voting for about the first 3 years, and it was fun. Getting the information, watching things, and hearing about players, watching players. And it was a good time. Then slowly but surely it kept growing and growing. I don't know how many voters we got now. We got a hell of a lot of voters, man. But we make sure, and we've had some guys that won the award that weren't in Division I teams. You know, they were close, but they were in the lower Division I teams that won the award that I was happy about. And we really try to make an influence on the people voting to get more of the people that are not on, like, I don't want to say not on, but like Alabama, Texas, all those schools. There's other schools, guys are playing really great, you know, that people never get to see, and get those guys involved. And we do that little by little, you know, getting those receivers involved in a running for the award. But the award's great. It certainly means a lot to me to have my name on it. And it's some of the guys that won the award I coached, some of the guys I still see are still playing. But it's a great thing to have. It really is. So, you know, both things, the MVP and the Biletnikoff Award, mean the world to me, you know.
Names immediately associated with the Raiders: Fred Biletnikoff, Al Davis, John Madden. From the public eye, what did we miss about John Madden that only Fred Biletnikoff could tell us?
You couldn't miss him. How the hell could you miss him? You can't miss him. You know, something there's with John. John was an assistant coach, you know, with the Raiders, prior to getting the head coaching job, but he had been all around all of us. And when John took over, you know, we are already in our like 4th or 5th year of playing. You know, we had been, you know, in a couple of playoff games and all that. So, you know, it's like Al tells everybody, you know, just when you're coaching them, don't mess them up. You know, just leave them alone. They'll play. Just don't mess them up. And John took over the team. And John was a great person to have. Not only, John was a good coach. He was a defensive linebacker coach, but he was a good coach. But he had the knack of being able to handle personalities, which, you know, everybody, you read about the Raiders from years before and everything. We had a hell of a lot of personalities, and John knew how to handle all of them. How he did it, I don't know, but he did it, and he never tried to change any of us. We all had a good work ethic. We had some history behind us as far as playing. We were veterans, and we're happy to have John because John didn't demand a lot of things from us other than, you know, once you walk in this building, you're here for work. And that's just the way it was. So John was fantastic with all of us. And Al, Al was just a tough guy. You know, if you did your job, that's all you had to do. If you weren't doing your job, it's like I always said when I was coaching to a lot of players, it's cold outside those gates. All right? Once you go through that gate and you're on the other side, it's pretty damn cold. And I said, believe me, I've seen a lot of guys end up out there too. I ended up, everybody gets cut. Nobody retires, they all get cut. All right? So nobody gets away unscathed in this business. But that's how Al was, you know, a no-nonsense guy. John was really a no-nonsense guy. And that's how we all got along. And, I mean, you talk about a diversity of guys on the team. You know, we were from every ethnic background. It was crazy, and we all got along. You know, but we monitored each other, you know, because everybody had such a great deal of respect for each other as players and being there every day with each other, traveling with each other, training camp with each other, home games, no matter what. And we did a lot of camaraderie too. We were really a close group, all of us, and it was great to be around these guys because they're all great players. I mean, you know, you don't realize something when you're right in the middle of everything, the greatness you have around you that you're playing with. You know, it comes years later, you know, after you're out of it, and you look back and say, my God, I didn't even realize how great those guys were.
When you think back about that, do you reflect on a specific game, a specific play, what comes to mind when you allow your mind to wander back to the game as Fred Biletnikoff, the player? Do you think of one particular game, one particular play that you relive because it means so much to you?
Yeah, we were down in Miami. I dropped a touchdown pass. And I saw their whole sideline jumping up and down. All right, it was towards the end of the game. We had a chance to win. And that was the year before the Sea of Hands game with Clarence catching a touchdown. And I waited an entire year to play against those guys. And that's how much that drop meant to me, because it was, you think of games, you lost, you think of plays, but, when you start getting into plays and games, it just becomes, you're beating your head against the wall. It's just, you try to correct and be better the next game. You work on it during the week, whatever you were inept at, that week. Excuse me. And you just try to be better the following week and win, and just get back out there and play again. You got to go back out there.
So you brought up retirement, and questions were brought up to me from the audience. Thank you. We are still collecting them. We're going to work our way to work through as many of these as we can before we continue. So Fred, if we can unwind retirement, and you had an opportunity to play today, this person in the audience is wondering if you had the ability to play with any current quarterback, any team, what quarterback, what team are you playing with? I assume the team's the Raiders, but you can put whatever quarterback you want.
Oh, I like the guy at the Chargers, Herbert. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I think he's an outstanding quarterback. I watched him a couple years ago in Las Vegas, where at the end of the game, he completed like 6 fourth-down passes. And it wasn't like 4th and 2, 4th and 3, all that. It was like 4th and 10, 4th and 15, 4th and 16. And that guy just put on such a show. And then watching him, from even before that, and then even just last year, I just like the guy. I think he's a hell of a quarterback.
There are a lot of advancements in science and technology in today's game. Tell us about Stick'em in your day.
You had to get to that, did you, Ed? Okay.
That wasn't me, I swear. That came from the audience.
Somebody.
They're curious.
It was Angela, no. And we were at a Super Bowl event, Angela and I, and we go up to, how do they have the bars around? We go up to get a glass of wine, and we see these 2 old-timers. Well, they were old-timers to me then, okay? But, and we start talking with them. All of a sudden, they said, where are you guys from? San Diego. What do you do? Oh, we introduced ourselves, and they said, oh, yeah. I said, what do you guys do? He says, well, we were the ones that started to stick them in San Diego. I said, get out of here. I said, yeah, we're the ones that started to stick them. I said, what do you do now? He said, we have the patent on the sticky gloves that everybody wears. I said, can I get part of the action out of that deal? But yeah, so they started. But anyway, when I was a young kid, we were playing in San Diego. A guy named Speedy Duncan, who was a punt returner and defensive back for the Chargers, our equipment guy, Dick Romanski, saw he was wearing this stuff. Speedy's catch, never had a problem dropping a ball. So he went to their equipment manager and he asked him what he's wearing. It was to stick him. So that's how we got to stick him because of Speedy Duncan. So we started using it after that. So I'm not taking the heat for everything with that stick 'em now.
Don't take the heat, but you got to take the royalties for the glove.
I wish it was, yeah. I still got a couple jars at home. Yeah, it hasn't hardened yet either. But the problem was that taking that stuff off, because you have to use a paint thinner to take it off, and you can't smoke around it. All right. But the paint thinner, it was horrible to get off, but that's what you did. So we did it for years, but I never had a chance to wear the sticky gloves, the tacky gloves.
What concerns you most about the direction the game is headed today? What gives you the most encouragement of the direction the game is headed today?
Well, if the referees quit huddling up, let us watch the game is one thing. But that's irritating. I think it may be irritating for everybody to watch, going to the replays and all that stuff. They need to make a decision. I don't know. I believe media makes everybody aware of every player, and the media is very critical of guys. I mean, they'll fire coaches, they got players cut, they do everything, and they don't even know what's going on, basically. And they always have my sources. And to be honest with you, if I was an owner of a club, I couldn't pay these guys that money. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it, because I don't, if I'm going to pay somebody $10, $13 million, $6 million a year just to hang around, and pay somebody else $3.5 million to hang around, and how many touchdowns have you scored? None. What do you do? How many interceptions? You throw? Oh, 10. I don't see it. I don't see the production you get from what these players are paid doesn't come out for me. Doesn't add up. You know, and that's one of the disappointing things. There's guys in prison doing more time for burglary than these guys are getting.
So what gives you encouragement about the game today? What keeps you coming back to football?
I guess because I was in it so long. What else do I have to do? Angela says, go watch football, Fred. Stay out of the way. No, I don't know. I just enjoy watching it. Like now with the Raiders, we're hoping.
This is the year.
For years. It's going on a number of years. We're still hoping.
We're not far from Cleveland. I think that's a
I know.
story too. This
Father Simon, he's a Cleveland Browns fan. So I know he's always hoping every week. I'm hoping every week. And so we're right in the same boat, all of us. But you see, well, you know what? The light for me is seeing somebody like we have Max Crosby and watching his effort. And he reminds me of the guys that played on defense when I was playing. But they were all that way, just not one guy. And that's the only thing I look at when Max, because I really admire Max for the way he goes out there and the way he plays every game, and he's just all out, and he's a force. He makes a difference in the game.
Who was the best player you played with? Who was the best player you played against?
Oh, I don't know. Jeez. I played with a lot of great players. Jesus. Receivers, Cliff Branch, Warren Wells was great with us. Cliff was great. Dave Casper was phenomenal. Being with Art Schall and that whole group, Jim Otto, Stabler, Bandisack, Van Egan, Hubbard. They're all great players. Defense, you had Hendricks and Willie Brown and Jesus. Hope Tatum and Atkinson and Skip Thomas, Dr. Death, Lester, Hayes. I played with a lot of great guys. Quarterback, the years I was playing, I got to start off with Flores and then with Blanda. Then LaMonica came in and with Kenny. So I had the opportunity to be around and play with four great quarterbacks, and playing with Flores. Flores, after a couple of years, he left. He went to Buffalo, and then he went to Kansas City for a year or so, and then he went into coaching, and we got him back as a coach, and so he was my wide receiver coach for years, and I remember my first pass he threw me, I dropped, and another one he had intercepted, And then he became head coach, and he cut me. That's the joke between Tom and I. It's true, too.
So, speaking of quarterbacks, this person's asking, how would you compare the Mad Bomber to the Snake as to who you think was the better quarterback?
Well, for Darryl, the Mad Bomber, it was we had a whole different type of passing game because everything was deep, and that fit into Darryl's style of playing, and he was great at it. And then with Kenny was more of a throw the ball over here, fake it over here, throw it over here. And Kenny, Darryl had a command at a huddle. Kenny had command at a huddle. But, it was just a little bit different with both of them. Darryl was a little more hyped up and excitable. And Kenny was, you thought you might be sitting out there waiting on a bus with Kenny when he's in a huddle. But the one thing Kenny did, though, Kenny didn't take anything from anybody in the huddle, no matter who it was. He had total command of that huddle, and he would keep those guys in line no matter who it was, because Kenny managed the whole game by himself. So he knew how to use the personnel, and Darryl was a little more stubborn and wanted to get things into areas where there'd be a few guys around. You better watch out.
So we've got some questions about specific games or instances. Didn't you hold the record for the longest interception returned in college at some point?
Yeah, Miami. Yeah. You didn't know that?
The audience wants to know the story behind that.
I got to tell you everything.
You got to tell us everything. Fred, that's why you're here tonight.
No, against Miami, George Myra was the quarterback. And my junior year, we had to play both ways. Don James, who was, won Rose Bowls up here out there, West Coast of Washington, was our defensive coordinator. And I was the left corner. And Myra threw the ball over there, and I picked it off. And luckily, I had slower guys chasing me and ran 99 yards in the Orange Bowl. Yeah.
This person's wondering, were you in the Heidi Bowl game in 1967, Raiders v. Jets visiting? Oakland scored 2 touchdowns in the final minutes. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, I was there. We sent them home packing. No, I was there, yeah. You talk about watching games, and how many times you watch a game until you're like, oh, hell with this game, I'll just bump. And next day you find out the team won. And so that's why everybody stays now, well, majority of people, when you learn your lesson, especially when you're a player, and you're behind 2 scores, and only minutes left to go in a game. And all of a sudden we get a block, a touchdown, another touchdown in minutes, and we win. It's like, and you're standing on a sideline because it didn't happen offensively. It happened with our special teams. And you go, gee, what the hell happened here, man? It was that quick, so you learn that. It's a lesson that you're never out of it. I mean, something can happen all the time. It's you may think it doesn't come true, but I was part of it. I saw it. It was crazy. I was part of a lot of things like that. Where you only have minutes to get it from one end of the field to the other end of the field, and somehow you pull it off and you do it, and it's great. It's a great feeling to be able to do it. But you have to have the guys to do it.
So if you, Fred Biletnikoff, had a magic wand, and this week I think the owners are meeting to talk about rules of the game. The audience is wondering, what rule would you change if you had a chance to change something about the game? You've got the magic wand, doesn't matter what the owners want to do. You could make an adjustment to today's game. What is it?
Hit the quarterback. It's like Al used to say, you got to make the quarterback go down. But that's it. I like to see that rule changed. I don't know. It's never going to happen. But you know what? I don't. To be honest with you, I really feel this way. I don't believe that the referees on the field have an understanding of how to be consistent with the rules. Because every time you go out there and you see something, if it's you're watching a morning game, an afternoon game, you get similar situations and the calls go a different way. And I like to see that cleaned up. Not the rule, it's just the way you handle the rules. You know, the way you have to stake it. Because if you're not consistent with the players out there on the field as a referee, you're going to lose. You're going to lose the game. I mean, the game's going to get out of control. And now you're really working, you know, just to get yourself back as a referee, to get back in a situation, and the same situation never going to come up the same way. You know, so the consistency there, I think, is very poor.
Fantasy football, good for the game, bad for the game. What does Fred Biletnikoff think?
You know what? To be honest with you, I don't even understand fantasy football. I really don't. I've never even played fantasy football. I've never looked at fantasy football. I see, you know, on TV, they're, you know, picking the fantasy players. They have a draft and everything. But I really don't understand it. I've never really been involved with it, so I can't give you an answer.
Were you in the movie North Dallas 40? It looked like you! Exclamation point. Somebody really thought this looked like you. Were you in the movie?
I was a consultant. That's true. I was a consultant to Nick Nolte, which was a story in itself. But, yeah, so he hired me to help him work and be a receiver. And he didn't do a bad job. He was all right, but he's an actor. And that's Nick. But I had developed a good relationship with him, had fun on a movie. John Matuzak was on a movie. And, but yeah, I just worked as a consultant. So if it was bad, and you saw it, it wasn't me. It was Nick.
We talked about some of the greats and the people that you played with. Returning to that, this person is returning to your position in high school. Who do you think is the greatest running back of all time?
Oh, boy.
Only easy questions from our audience, Fred.
Oh, you know, it's not because he's a Raider. I love Marcus Allen. You know, I mean, you can't beat Marcus. Marcus is a special athlete out there on the field. I mean, when I was coaching, he was on the team, so I got to see it firsthand. And he's just a phenomenal player, and he could do everything. I mean, he could play either position running back, which he did. I mean, even when we had Bo Jackson, Marcus became the blocker for Bo Jackson. I mean, you could split him out. He could be a wide receiver. Marcus is I don't think there's a word for it. He's that talented. You know, he's exceptional. I mean, he's the cut above.
You spoke about it in your remarks, but tell us more about what it meant to you to have Biletnikoff Field, Biletnikoff Track here in Erie, Pennsylvania.
I wish I was fast enough to run on that track, but I'm not. But you know what it is. It's when you're able to be part of something, and especially in this day and age, and especially even with just our foundation with Angela, when you're able to do something and it makes kids happy. It makes kids feel proud. It makes kids look at something and say, I've never had that before. And that's what the field means to me. And that's was always my intention, to have something that kids had never been on. Something that they could say, you know, I was there for the first time, you know, when they first built it. And see it continue over the years, and that's what it means. There's nothing like putting a smile on a kid's face by doing something that they had never had in her life. It's like the field I explained, what my intentions are. It's like with our foundation, with the adolescent girls that come through the program, that we're able to provide housing for them, building new homes, everything, that these kids never slept in a bed. They never had their own bathroom. They never had their own shower. They never sat at a table and ate dinner with 5 or 6 other girls or a family. They slept out in the streets. So it's something that we're able to be part of, to give to kids that they never experienced, never had, which they deserve to have. And something in her life has taken that away. And we're proud, and I'm proud of the field and with our foundation that we're able to give that to kids. It makes us, what more can you ask? I mean, you want a reward. I mean, that's the reward you get.
No, I'm about to call for a round of applause, and it's not because I'm about to end the event. We still have some time, and I still have some questions. But Fred, out of an absolute tragedy that just sinks one's heart, you've done something so powerful with that foundation, the work that you've done in the memory of your daughter, and how many lives it's touched, how many it's saved, how many it's transformed. It is truly transformational and powerful work. A round of applause for Fred and the foundation and his wife, Angela. Truly, absolutely moving.
Nobody ever in their lifetime ever expects a tragedy like we went through. And you know, it was our daughter, Tracy, but I believe everybody in the room has someone, a friend, relative, your child, your mother, your father, grandparents, whatever, and that's part of what you experience that, and it's tough to describe. It's tough to deal with the feelings. With us, it was a tragedy, geez, you know, to see somebody that, you know, people are always talking about, you know, well, my child or my son or my dad, my mother, my aunt, uncle, whoever, they're in rehab and, oh, they're doing good, whatever. But we witnessed it. And we saw somebody go through and really commit themselves to get rid of drugs, alcohol, and get their part of their life back. Like Tracy used to say, Dad, I'm never going to get my life back. Those years are gone. All I can do is go forward. And Angela especially grew close with Tracy because she was living with us. And so that's the commitment she made, and she followed through with that commitment because she knew what it had done to her. And so after Tracy's death, I mean, it was, well, you know, you go numb. You know, you have a choice. You really have a choice that either you crawl in that black hole and you never get out, or you get yourself out of that black hole. And not partially out, you got to get all the way out. And that death that everybody goes through, that you're part of, is never going to go away. That feeling you have is never going to go away. There's still that hole, and that hole's going to be there for the rest of your life. And you have to make a decision on which way you want to go. And luckily, I have somebody stronger than me, and Angela, that took the bull by the horns, so to say, and kicked up. We started a foundation, and the first fundraiser we had was at a Raider game. She said, "This is what we're doing." I was coaching. She had $1 up for Tracy, and she had barrels put all around the stadium, the Raider Stadium, the Oakland Coliseum. All right? I don't even know how much money what did we get? What did we end up making? Made $91,000 with Dollar Up for Tracy. That was our first fundraiser. And we had to get the sheriff's department to get our accountant, Steve, to get him out of there with the money. Yeah, we have just $1. And that's what we made. And so that kicked us off. And we were so excited. And we went from there across the bay to San Mateo, where Tracy was in rehab. We started our first Tracy's Place of Hope and got that. Angela went over there and redid the whole house, got everything ready for the girls. And that was Tracy. So we took that tragedy and just kept building on it, building on it, and building on it. And it's like, I believe this, and I always believe this in my heart, you know, and it's true, it's not because she's sitting here either, it's because I believe this. Every group, no matter what it may be in life, needs a leader, no matter what. You need somebody to lead, somebody to get everything started, somebody to put a spark under everybody to get things going, and she did that. You know, Angela did that and got us all going. She got her staff together, which basically we still have the same staff of people for over 20 years. And so we just kept going forward and kept going forward. And then we got up in Loomis, and now we're in Las Vegas. And then all the other programs that Angela gets to fund, we raise money for and through the foundation. But it was started because a young lady turned everything around in her life because she was that determined. And to know that if she knew now what I'm sure she does, the inspiration that she carries to each Tracy's Place of Hope that we have, it's very inspirational for the girls that are part of the program. It's for us, you know, the same way. And so we just keep going and one foot in front of the other, and that's what we've done for well over 20 years.
Now, I know I just called for a round of applause and said that wasn't the end of the event. I'm going to call for another round of applause, and this still isn't the end of our event here, but a round of applause for Angela as well as Tracy and her legacy that carries on through the work of the foundation. Angela, thank you so much for what you do.
So Tom, you see, with this, I have to share it with Angela also, if you don't mind.
And Angela also Player of the Week.
Absolutely, yeah. And she could play too. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
We're going to the field right after this.
Yeah.
All right, Fred, we have time for just a few more questions from the audience. And here's one asking, how much did it mean to you when Ken Stabler was enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Ken Stabler.
Oh boy, that is something special for me because we're so close. There was a period of time that we were both going through a real tough time in our lives and playing football, that we lived together. Man, we lived together for 4 years, and we got to know each other really well. And LaMonica was still starting the first year when Kenny and I first started living together. So, but we grew together as a good, close friends. And we shared a lot of things, and we all were always pulling for Kenny prior to him passing away to be in the Hall of Fame. And then is, too bad that, he was gone and then gets into the Hall of Fame. But I got to be part of the family celebration down there in Canton with the grandkids, and of course his daughter, who I knew since she was just a little girl. But that was something special for me to see Kenny go in the Hall of Fame. It was well-deserved. It really is.
What advice, and this is a two-part question, Fred, and it's about advice. What advice would you give to young athletes today? But then what advice would you give to more seasoned athletes sitting in the audience, Father Time is undefeated, but there's still something in the tank. What do you tell the young athletes today? What do you tell the more seasoned athletes amongst us? What advice would you leave us with?
For the young guys, or young athletes, you're only going to go around once. You're only going around once in this life, and you're basically given a great talent. God has given you a talent that there's thousands and thousands of other kids that don't have that talent and wish they did have that talent. And I would say don't disappoint those kids. Use that talent and do something with it. Be committed to what you're doing. And like I said, you're only going around once. For the seasoned people, it's be a mentor to the younger people because you've been through and you have experience. You've been through a lot. You've seen a lot. You've dealt in negative things, positive things. So really relay that message to the young kids. But in the meantime, always be somebody that those kids can look up to and be part of, let them be part, be part of their life. But these young kids, they always look up to athletes, the older athletes or athletes that are 3 or 4 or 5 years ahead of them. So, be that athlete, be that person that they expect you to be, and don't disappoint them.
2 final questions from the audience, and I think these are really good ones. We're going to make sure we squeeze them in. The first one, and Angela, this is back to you. Fred, how did you talk her into going out with you?
Oh, it was easy.
All good stories start that way.
Well, to make it kind of short or whatever, I was out one night when I was coaching the USFL, and we were at a restaurant, and a friend of mine was working there, and Angela was working at the restaurant as a waitress, and that's basically how we saw each other, met each other, and then when it was time to go, I was hanging around, and a friend of mine who was a cab driver, who I hadn't seen in years, I asked the guy to get me a cab. So he came in, it was a guy I knew. So I said, hey, come and sit down. I said, I'm trying to go out with this girl. I'm trying to get a date here. So Angela came over, and she said, well, we're closing up. And I said, well, can you give me a ride home? She said, well, you got your cab driver here. I said, well, he's only here if you tell me no. But that's how we met, and briefly, and it's been, she's very athletic, very competitive, and we've enjoyed each other. We've enjoyed our lives together. We really have. She has suffered through a lot of things with me, as you know, and we've done it together. But it's like this. When the dust clears, who's going to be there? And it's always Angela, and when the dust clears, it's always me. And that's how we've been together 41 years now. Long time, yeah. I look old, but she doesn't. What's wrong with this picture?
So Fred, as somebody who grew up in Western Pennsylvania, I have to ask this question. Immaculate Reception. Did Franco make the catch?
Okay. Sorry, Father. Oh boy. You know what? Well, he's passed away, and that's a shame. It happened. We lost a great Hall of Famer, a great player, Hall of Famer, and a terrific guy. And we did an event. Oh, we were at the Hall of Fame, and we were on the radio together. He and I back and forth. And they brought it up. We were going. I go, okay, before either one of us passes away here, Franco, tell the truth. He goes, I caught it. I go, Yeah, okay, fine. But it was been controversial for I don't know how many years. But you know what? Hell, we were halfway in the locker room. We got this game on, and it just turned the other way. And but you know what? You know what you learn is that's what great players do. Great players find a way, and they found a way. And no matter what anybody wants to say, and they found a way to win, and we didn't. And that's the downfall of sports. That's the thing in sports that you deal with. And well, the bad thing is we were in Pittsburgh. We had that long flight home.
So Fred, I want to end on an uplifting note, because I think the spirit of what you just said about Franco Harris of don't give up, don't leave everything on the field, play. That's how you played, that Erie grit. I'm going to go back to where we started, Erie, Pennsylvania, where you are here tonight. You've had the chance to come back. You've had the chance to see development. You've had the chance to see changes. It's ups, it's downs, it's rebounds, it's progress forward. What has changed about Erie from when you grew up that makes you proud of your hometown today?
Well, and I mentioned it earlier, and I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart, what Father Simon has done down in the neighborhood. And he's kept the Russian religion alive, and he's kept it going, and he's gotten the youth involved, and people have gravitated because of what he's done down there to the church. And that's one of the things I'm proud of. And when we went to the festival, about 2 years ago, Ange, we loved it. We got to see Father Simon for a change, to be part of it, seeing what he's done and the people that were involved. And we're going to be down there this weekend, too. So I'm going down there and have a good time with Father. And then, obviously, the field. The Bayfront is unbelievable. You know what I look at? You have so many things in your mind. I was talking to Doug White the other day when we were driving down State Street. I go, we were American Graffiti before they even came out with the movie. State Street was American Graffiti for us, and I thought about that. And Richie Valahovic and Eddie Kissel were part of that with me, and driving up and down. Kobelski had the car that we were driving all the time. He had the stick shift car. But seeing the fountains, the color fountains in the park down here, and just seeing a different part of Erie down on the Bayfront. I know there was a lot done around 6th Street with the renovations down there, and then where we were earlier today. We used to hitchhike to Prescott going by all those homes. Now, we always wondered, you see, over the years they're worn down, and now they're back. And proud to see that. And then having a chance to go out to Prescott and drive around there with Angela, and just seeing it, seeing everything, the changes and everything in the area, just it's phenomenal. It really is. I mean, it's very impressive with everything. And then, being the only Russian in the Polish Falcons, I got to have a lifetime membership. What else can you ask for?
Mr. Fred Biletnikoff, the Thomas B. Hagen Dignitas Award winner 2024. Thank you, thank you, thank you. A huge round of applause, and thanks to Erie Insurance, our event sponsor, to Tom Hagen, to Father Simon, to Angela, to Ed, to Doug, all the others that have helped. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Folks, thank you for being here tonight. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you again soon. Mr. Fred Biletnikoff.